Good evening. I would like to call the January 22nd meeting as the Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Can we please have roll call, please?
Trustee Iannacco? Trustee Saldana?
Here.
Trustee Eck?
Here.
Trustee Donnersberger? Trustee Svetka?
Here.
Trustee Gazus?
Here.
President Amy Jo Wittenberg.
Here. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we move along to the approval of the Committee of the Whole minutes from July 17, 2025? Can we have a motion?
Move approval of the Committee of the Whole minutes from July 17, 2025.
Second.
Can we do all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Aye.
That motion has passed. All righty, I'm going to move on to the Village President's report. I do want to give you guys a little bit of an update very quickly, regarding Plainfield Road redesign and Wolf Road redesign. We did talk about this at the last Village Board meeting, but there are some things going on that I want the board to be aware of specifically. We won't go into detail on it, but I'm going to send you the correspondence that was sent to the county and then the correspondence that we received from the county. The last time we went through this process with both Wolf Road and I don't know if the board was completely in the loop about what was happening at meetings, so I want you all to be in the loop about what's happening regarding both of the road redesigns. As you're all aware, there was a meeting last year in late 2025 where everybody got together regarding the Plainfield Road redesign project. So right now, Cook County is finalizing the project report, which will be submitted to the Illinois Department of Transportation for design approval. Phase 1 was anticipated to be completed in late 2025. Phase 2, which consists of the preparation of a design engineering document and land acquisition, is anticipated to begin in 2026. The earliest construction date for Phase 3 is anticipated to commence in 2028. That would be the earliest date, is 2028. Public comments were collected August 20th, and the project team has responded to all individual questions via email. So you should have received an email from the county if you had submitted a question at the Plainfield Road meeting or in email formats to the county. We submitted a letter, the Village of Indian Head Park, with feedback to the county regarding Plainfield Road. We talked about the sidewalk on the west side of Wolf Road to Sequoia, which is part of the Plainfield Road project, and we had asked that to be reconsidered to be done during the Wolf Road project, which the county agreed to. We also requested that the drainage ditches on the Plainfield Road, south side of the road, be enclosed. And they're saying that that may or may not be able to happen because of the budget, which I find to be amazing that they would create a drainage provision, extensive drainage provision under the roadway for this project, but then do not want to cover up the ditches on Plainfield Road on the south side. So they said that they would talk further with us about that, but that wasn't something that they were prepared to do at this time. And then the third thing was we requested some changes to the lanes approaching the Plainfield Road intersection from Wolf that they also declined to make, with some reasoning that they gave us. So I am sending you the letter of the requests and then the letter that they sent back to us, so you're all in the loop on that. Okay? Secondly, Wolf Road, we have monthly meetings, myself, Gavin Morgan, and Trustee Eck, every month with Cook County, Strand, and ourselves. We are the primary lead on the Wolf Road project, the Village of Indian Head Park. So right now, we will have a meeting on the 2nd of February to discuss alternatives regarding drainage alternatives for the roadway, as well as maintenance of traffic alternatives analysis. So we are going to be making some preliminary decisions and talking about some preliminary plans regarding the drainage alternatives, where there's been a memorandum that has been prepared to evaluate how to most appropriately accommodate stormwater and off-site drainage along the corridor. So those alternatives are going to be discussed. They have been provided to us in writing for this meeting on the 2nd. This segment is being evaluated because there's 2 feasible preliminary alternatives that have been identified to accommodate stormwater and off-site drainage. So they've split it up into 2 areas on the roadway, and they have drainage alternatives for both parts of this. So we'll be considering those on the 2nd. The other thing that is very important is the maintenance of traffic analysis has also been prepared. So we are going to be making the decisions and looking at the options of how we will maintain and manage the traffic during construction. So that's all has to be figured out now because it impacts the budget. So if we do close the road completely, if we want one-way traffic, two-way traffic, the road closures, all different alternatives that we are looking at. And right now, they are going to give us conceptual alternatives. They're preparing and submitting a transportation management plan, and we need to look at this and approve it. So what I think we'll do is just send you all the email so you can just take a look at it. And if it's pretty long, so if you want to look at both of those, please feel free.
Question, if I may. Does any of that information include like their preliminary ideas on where they're going to be parking the construction equipment during the process? Like, are they going to want to use like the Heritage site, for example, Heritage Center? Yeah.
Well, they do have they don't specifically talk about parking at this juncture.
Okay.
But they're talking about what they need to accommodate the project. And if they did it traffic one way, they'd have to, of course, take more trees and more land if they do it 2 ways. So there's an obvious, probably better answer to this alternative, and that's what we'll be discussing.
Thank you.
Just to chime in, Plainfield Road, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're a few years behind them, but we've seen, and again, it's good that they're going first, in a way. You obviously live right there, and you live on both. But it seems like all of a sudden now with the drainage, the open, I can't imagine they would, the last plan we saw, there was some hardscape or sidewalk on that side, and then they're just going to have an open drainage. But I guess where I'm going with it is Plainfield's a couple of years ahead of us. Maybe these things were being talked about 2 years ago that we're talking about now regarding Wolf Road, or not. But it does seem like once the process gets going, even though we are the lead, the more you can get done now, the more you can hammer out now, which gives us a better opportunity to maybe get something that we like going forward. But I think we've seen a little bit with Plainfield how this kind of goes, right? What do you mean you're not going to discuss it? What do you mean you're not getting back to us? I feel as though being a trustee and also a resident of Indiana Park and on Wolf Road, that none of that surprises me. And I guess I would ask, you and Charlie and Gavin, what do you think, if anything, we can do now to prevent kind of those problems 2 to 3 years from now when kind of the thing is off and running?
Well, I think they said no to some things, but they had logical reasons. So why don't you read the letter first?
Okay.
And then if you feel that those answers aren't, appropriate, then we can talk to Katie Bell. Nothing in the letter seemed, completely illogical. It's just that we have preferences and they have design engineering specifications, and sometimes the two don't intersect. So if we feel strongly about the sidewalk on the west side of Wolf Road to Sequoia, right now they want to make it butting up to the basically the roadway and be 7 feet. So they have a reasoning for that. I don't like that alternative, but they have a reason why they have to do that with the design standards from the Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration. So that's the kind of stuff that we're going to have to work with them on. So I don't know if I like their answers yet. I think we have to play out the process with them to see what happens. Because we don't, if we do make certain decisions, then they're going to need more road, then they're going to take more trees. So all of these have implications that one thing impacts another, and we may want something, but it may have a lot of considerations that come along with it. So that's why I want you to know about all this, so you can see that we're not going to make a decision on your behalf without you seeing some of this information. So you'll be getting it in your email. I will send you the documents. Charlie and I and Gavin got them just a couple days ago.
That's the one with the attachments that were too long that you had to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's all that I have this evening, and I'm going to turn it over now to item 5, which is discussion items for this evening. Thank you.
Graham, if you could put the 2026 priorities table up on the screen, I'd appreciate it. This is in your board packets as well. We're not going to go through all these items one by one, but they're there for you to look at, and you can certainly at any time send me any questions you have or comments or feedback. But we are going to hit on some of the big priorities and some projects that we're working on. Some of these projects may not actually be on this list, but they're important things that we have been working on. And we'll go department by department. We can start with the police department, where we have just about achieved full staffing. We do have one officer who is still in field training, Max Ingstrom, who will be sworn in at the February board meeting and has been a part-time officer here for a little while. I don't know if you want to say anything more about that.
Officer will expedite the training program, so we're hoping he'll be cut loose by the end of, he better be cut loose by the end of February, let's put it that way, but hopefully sooner. We'll swear him in on the 12th.
And that will bring us to full staffing, and we'll have all the shifts covered with at least 3 officers for most shifts. And it contributes to the public safety in the community. We've also applied for a grant the police department has with a new grant writer for body-worn cameras, correct?
The total came to $59,000 and change. We've been working with the company that we hired to do so. I've been in contact with the Illinois Training Board because there's certain requirements that we have to fulfill. It's mandated, but the classes weren't available. But as I've been speaking to them and communicating with them, they told me just get it done as soon as you can. So we should be on board for that, so we should qualify for the grant. We will qualify for the grant.
And we've also begun meeting with our attorneys to put together our thoughts and ideas on the MAP collective bargaining agreement, the one union that we do have in the village is our police officers, and we will begin that process. The current agreement expires at the end of April, and we've put together a list of items that need clarification and addressing as we go into those negotiations. In Public Works, I'm going to let Joe talk to you about some of the items that he is working on with his team and with our consultants in that area.
Just to kind of go through the list, the Pontiac Road and Water Main project, I spoke with Strand, and we should have the plans for that by the end of this month or early February. The capital improvement plan, we pretty much know where we want to be with that. Now it's just a matter of kind of funding it. We have our projects kind of lined up the way we'd like them to be, but obviously that's kind of, fluid. We'll see how that goes and see, how we can move forward with it. But we do have everything kind of in an order of how we'd like to see things done. The pump house improvements, the gas chlorine to liquid transformation. The bid opening for that is the 27th of this month. I did get an email today that we have so far won interested party in it, but, they might jump in here at the last, but we'll know something. Andreas and myself will be in on that bid opening. It's virtual. We do have a forestry management plan in place, again, kind of like the capital improvement plan. We just have to figure out how we're going to tweak it so that we can do probably a smaller scale of what is in place just because of funding purposes. And then the GIS infrastructure, we've already got all of our water maps and all that in place. And I reached out last week to get the storm and sanitary maps put on the GIS as well, and that's in process right now. And that's what I have on this list, unless you wanted me to talk about anything else at this moment, or?
A couple of things, but first, that the capital plan, part of what's informing that is Strand did for us the water projects plan to submit
Correct.
to IEPA for low-interest loans. So that gives us another option for how we finance the projects that are on that list, and there's 6 projects, I think, over 5 years, including the Pontiac project. So with them accepting this, that is one step closer to us being eligible for those low-interest loans to help pay for that project.
So when will we find that out? That's what I was confused about.
Which one? What?
Well, the IEPA loans, like, what's the cadence about finding out when we get the money of the loan?
I'll have to discuss it with Strand.
Oh, okay.
They're working on it, and I'll be meeting with Tony soon on that.
Okay.
And I'll see where we stand on that. But as of right now, I don't have any information to give you. I just know that they're trying to get that done for
Right
us.
now, what we've heard from IEPA is we've been assigned a project manager, and that's as much as we know right now. So, but as soon as we're able to get a timeline, we'll get that. And like Joe said, Tony and Richard from Strand are in touch with with that office at IEPA. But if you want to talk a little bit, we did. The board had expressed an interest at one point in the past year about finding out more about the remote meter reading program. When new meters were purchased many years ago, there was talk about those being having the capacity for wireless reading, and we looked more into that, and they don't without additional equipment. So Joe did some research and has talked to vendors about how that would happen, how much it would cost, and can give us just
Sure.
real brief overview.
Yeah, I'll just go brief with it. I think it's a great, something great to have in our community for not only us, making it easier to get meter reads, but also for residents, because if we do this, we can do it with a portal, and then residents can go on and look at their reads, and you get alerts and so forth. There's definitely a lot of perks to it, but. And again, like Gavin said, this was requested, so I don't want to sound like I'm being negative toward this idea. I think it would be something that we should consider in the future, just because the meters are already halfway through their life. They were installed in 2016, 2017, so you're talking 20-year lifespan for a meter. We're already halfway through it. If we were to do this, you're possibly putting, I don't know, obviously in 10 years, technology can change. So we're spending, I think everybody saw that it was like $200,000 just for the equipment to put newer type of equipment on older meters when that technology may change. Also, if we try and install all these new readers in-house, it would take us a couple of years, 2, maybe 3 years. So now you're talking 3 more years age on the meters. I would recommend, if we're going to do this is something we budget for in the future when we replace all the meters. So, in about maybe 7 years, we start talking, we need this amount of money. Let's do it all at the same time. You probably save more money. It's probably a little more costly now doing it this way because you're kind of doing it after the fact. So, again, I'm not saying I'm not for a system like this. I'm just thinking, instead of doing it now, we kind of wait it out. We're already halfway through the cycle and implement this in the next cycle when we change the meters out.
The bottom line is it would cost $200,000 to $300,000 to do this. Right now, the way we do meter reading, the benefit to Joe's point, is that it would offer instant reading. We would be able to follow, like if there was a leak, we would know right away. Right now, we do readings every month, and we can identify when somebody has mysteriously high water usage once a month.
That's why we read once a month. We bill every other, but we read monthly for two reasons. One, for that reason, to catch any problems, and for two, for my reporting. I need to know monthly what I...
Quick question, how long does it take you to read meters today?
Hour and a half.
Okay, so it takes an hour and a half to read meters today, and we're talking about $200,000, and so the ROI on this is how many decades?
About 10 decades.
Okay, was this discussed at the Finance Committee?
And as a matter of fact, it was.
And what did the Finance Committee recommend
Oh,
unanimously?
They felt like it shouldn't go to the board, but I told them that
Thank
the board
you.
asked us about it, and we are obligated to close the
And I'm
loop.
glad you did that so I can ask a question, because it looks like we might have questions.
But because the board asked about it, I wanted to close the loop. I wanted to tell you what our recommendation would be, which is not to follow through on this, but I wanted you to have all the information.
So it costs $200,000 to retrofit old meters. How many meters do we have, and how many meters do you think that you would have to replace because they break, or because there's new construction, or because there's, whatever, in the next few years, and how much will that cost?
Just 950 meters, give or take, a couple. Right now, I've been here a couple of years. We've changed out minimal amounts of meters. They're built to last 20 years. The only reason we would switch out a meter is if they went with a bigger water service and they need a bigger meter. Sometimes they fail, but it's minimal.
How much do they cost?
$350 a meter.
How much would they cost if they are Wi-Fi, or whatever it's called?
Well, that's what the 200,000 would be. You're not changing the meter out. You're just changing the reading device that's on the meter. Right now, they all have reading devices on them. This would be a cellular reading device so that you can get meter
Okay,
reads.
so you're not retrofitting the
Changing the
meters.
antenna, basically.
Huh?
You're changing the antenna on the meter, basically. They all have antennas on the meters now.
Okay, are there meters that already come with the Wi-Fi? Because that's what you made it sound. You made it sound like that retrofitting old equipment will cost $200,000 when new equipment will cost what? That's what I didn't understand. So the meter
We
was
could have bought this technology in 2016-17 when the meters came out, but because of cost reasons, I don't know, I wasn't here, that they didn't do it.
Okay.
You're not
so-
going to even really see the difference.
so
The
the
receptor
meter
looks
itself-
exactly like the other one. It's just a
So
cellular
the
reading
meter
device.
itself was technology capable?
Yes,
Okay. So where you're not retrofitting it, you're just buying the part that they never bought before?
correct.
But when the board made this decision before, we were told that this had
Already had it.
remote reading capabilities and leak detection.
Well, it does have the capability.
Well,
You just
so
didn't
there
get the
wasn't-
capable part.
Correct. So that wasn't really a total lie.
Yeah.
The issue is, did we buy the piece that made it work? And the
Okay.
answer was no.
Okay,
Correct.
so just to get going on this. So you're saying that most likely these things are gonna break in 2036?
That's
the most.
That's the lifespan of a meter, because you start losing the accuracy of the meter. You buy them, they're 99.9% accurate. As they get older, parts wear out and more water goes through
Okay.
and less is built. So the lifespan of a meter is 20 years in the industry. That's basically how they do it.
Okay, so 2036 is when they're gonna start breaking, okay.
Well, not breaking, just not registering accurately.
Not registering accurately. So the point is not the return of investment, it's the getting caught up to technology and accuracy and transparency, and the fact that all of us, are now getting used to having instant gratification and instant service. So it's not that we're saving you that 1 hour every month.
Yeah, we don't mind doing it.
Yeah, which you don't mind doing, but then where is that information?
You can, Lucy can do it from her desk.
Yeah, is it available on the website for everybody to download?
Not now, that would be what we would put in with the new technology.
But that's the point. So what you're buying is not what you're buying is the instant information, and that people could, thanks to the information being available on a moment, that they can see it and download it. And the way this society is going, by 2031, we're gonna need that. And we're going to be behind the ball. So we
Yeah,
have to consider, it's not about the return on investment of the 1 hour of work. It's like, where are we on technology? And so either you put together a plan.
But we would be investing in upgrading something that's not going to last.
Until 2036. Okay. So I understand that. But you also have to consider that you have to have a plan for when you do have to replace
Yes.
them.
And
And
that is
and that
exactly-
cost is going to be in there.
Yeah.
You're
And that is
replacing them
exactly
not
what
with
Joe is
$95 things, you're replacing them with 95 plus the
Yeah.
other part.
Yep, and that's
Okay.
exactly what Joe's recommendation is.
Okay.
I would also say that I agree with Joe 100%, and I agree with Charlie probably 200%. It's 200,000 for the hardware that we didn't get, that's going to probably have to be replaced or retrofitted on the new thing, which doesn't make any sense. So coordinating the change in meters with the change in technology theoretically would make sense. The labor would also be another 100,000. It would take 3 years.
Oh, you didn't say that part.
So that's 300,000.
I'm not sure exactly how much the labor would cost, but
So
if-
technology is great.
Yeah.
But at 300,000 today's dollars, which 10 years from now could be 600 or whatever, depending on inflation, I don't think it will ever make fiscal sense to get that, to close that technology gap. I think the village would probably find a lot more uses for $300,000 to $500,000. That said, this harkens me back to a conversation about security versus, hundreds of thousands of dollars versus changing keys out. I think that was another Charlie. I don't know that the money will ever make sense. Having the conversation does make sense. What are we willing to pay for that? Wow, instant technology? Are we willing to pay $500,000 in 2036? I don't know.
Yeah, so the point I was trying to make is that it's not fair to look at it in only one situation, the return of investment, because
Agreed.
it's not about return on investment,
No, I
it's about
think-
what you're getting with the technology.
There's a
now,
lot of-
is that valuable? That your point is absolutely valid. It might not be valuable at all, because also in this town, we probably have, 10% of young people? So the way we're going, we might never need it. So, thank you. That was it.
I think there's a lot of perks to it. Hello, all right. I think it's a great system, but I think because if we're buying all new meters, the antennas themselves are the same, they look exactly the same. You're going to pay a little bit more for the one with the cellular read on it, but I think you're going to get a better deal when you buy all new meters, instead of trying to do it now after the fact, and the labor intense, and I think this is something we look at again in 6-7 years and start saying, okay, we're going to budget for this and go from there. But yeah, that's,
plan.
yeah.
So thank you. Again, we just wanted to close the loop on that, and now we don't ever have to talk about it again until 6 or
7
7
years.
years from now. And then the last thing was the cleaning RFP, just real quick. Brian's working on that.
Yeah, we got a draft put together for an RFP for the cleaning service, because right now we have a cleaning service here, and we have a cleaning service by us, and nobody seems to be very thrilled with the service. Hope they're not watching this on TV. No, but it just makes sense to have one cleaning service for both buildings as well, and we could probably even make it a better financial decision with it as well, because we're paying two different companies. If we inclusive all in one, I think we'll probably save a little money. I don't know that for sure, but we did put a few things in that RFP that specifics that we would like to see done with a new company, so we'll see where that goes, but that's where we stand with it right now. We have a draft. We were thinking about possibly getting it on the February or not, you think?
We're gonna try.
We're going to try, getting on.
Because you're timed out.
Somebody's giving it a hook.
Thank you.
All right.
Moving on to community development, Andres is going to talk about a few projects we're working on in that area.
Okay. Just making sure mine is. So yes, looking at them, the top one is the establishing the business and TIF districts. We got those established with the TIF in January, well, just a couple weeks ago. So now that we have a funding mechanism on that, I'm going to kind of skip down to the advancing triangle property development. Now that we have the funding mechanism involved in it that can help attract development, our next step, what we're looking at is we're reviewing a proposal from SB Friedman about looking at market analysis and attraction techniques and what we need to do for that. So we're hoping here soon to be able to start putting a very well-educated plan together to make that development happen. And that'll continue into next year to some extent with community involvement as well. The other two kind of similar issues are updating the building code and the zoning code. We are coming to the finish line on both of those. We're doing first reviews on the final drafts of both the building and the zoning code. For the zoning code, we've been going through it with the Plan Commission basically every month, piece by piece. And then with the building code, I have sent it off. It's been reviewed by both Don Morris and Kyle O'Connor here as well to look at what's going on with it. So we're going to be tightened up and get those put together here soon. And we'll be bringing to the board.
And does that include the electrical? I forget the year that we're at now with electrical and plumbing.
Yeah. So it
That's
will
all that, right?
It's
Okay.
all the building codes
Okay.
except the Illinois plumbing code, which is Illinois. So, and then the final one is the implementing the permitting system. We've gotten most of the kind of the kinks worked out of getting that in there and that process developed. And now our next step right now is we're going to cross-train staff on it so that we can keep providing more efficiency in that process, and then also resiliency in case I don't happen to be in the office. So that's where we're at in those projects.
Where are we on the discussions on fences or no fences? Is that included in this section, Gavin?
In general, it's under the zoning code, generally speaking, but it's more of a special project. Since the last board meeting, we haven't gone anywhere on it. So in a couple weeks, February 3rd, we'll be having the Plan Commission. We're going to be looking at the specifics for those fences along the major roads. Some of the topics they had us look at, reminder, was that the height of the fences, which we're engaging both Strand on for sight lines, and they also asked us about screening of fences. So we had Brandon go through and look at a comparative of the 14 communities that we had looked at already to see if they had any additional screening requirements. So that's still where we're at with that, and we'll keep you
I
updated.
guess this might be the appropriate time or not, I guess, Committee of the Whole. At the last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and Danielle and I are the liaisons for those out there watching, it seemed as though there was some uncertainty as to who was going to lead staff, direction from the board, staff, or the commission regarding what they're supposed to talk about next week or in 10 days. I am of the opinion, and I'm only one of board members, that a lot of that lead should come from staff, particularly Andres, you've done this before. We're going to have the comparison with input and discussion, of course, from the Planning and Zoning Commission, but I believe that direction as to type and restrictions, et cetera, because it seems to me that some members on the commission feel like certain things were approved. 80% of the people that responded to the survey approved for some sort of change or some sort of allowance on the busier streets. What's our term that we're using now?
Major roads.
On the major roads. But then I think a few members on the commission feel as though, an allotment with restrictions, it would just be another variance of sorts that I think they're creating. So and I don't know if we discuss it here or a different level, I believe the direction on most of that should be coming from staff, not from the commission. The commission should be informed and should have input, but really, I think that's more of a staff. But again, I've never done this before. I think you have, or I don't know if that's something we want to talk about now.
If I may, so as at the last meeting, what I was noting on them is that the more technical aspects, height, ability to be seen through, whether or not they're going to be put off of right-of-ways, whether or not there's sight triangles in there. A lot of those technical aspects are going to be undertaken by our village engineers, our building code consultants, all of that. It is the more policy aspects of it. So they asked about screening, that type of sort, fence height. To some extent, I think we've been on about 5 feet. But even like material, the non-corrosive, material, these are things that are more in the technical realm, not the policy realm. So while there's still some policy questions that they've been asking, and there's still there's some room for them to provide it. For instance, like how far off of the property lines or right-of-ways should they be? That's more of a policy question. We can inform it with technical data, but it's more of a policy question on that, and considering the different factors compared to whether they're allowed in drainage easements, which will be more of the strand.
But from a policy perspective, and you said property lines, I've heard members on that commission say, well, we should allow it only, in other words, again, an allowance or a change in current fence allowances to only on the property line that abuts the major road. That I think would be ridiculous, but I'm not on the commission. That's my opinion. But I guess that's what I'm saying. So that would be policy. So the commission could recommend that they should only be on the property line that abuts the major road.
Correct.
And only on
Correct.
that line. Not around the lot, not around, but just on the line. So theoretically, a family of 4 with young kids that back up to Wolf Road would be allowed to have fencing along that property line on Wolf Road, and then no other fencing anywhere else.
That'd be correct. When I said property lines, I meant how far off of that property line. Like, do you let them build?
No,
a
I
fence
understand
on?
that, but I guess from a policy perspective, I don't think the 80%, and again, I don't think the 80% that thought that would be what we would be voting on, that we would allow just one piece of fencing along the major road. But I don't know, maybe I have it wrong.
You don't vote on their recommendation. You vote to accept it or to not accept it, and you can make recommendations. Yeah, we can make recommendations. We can just not take the recommendation and then make our own recommendations,
And I'll even
especially
go.
if they don't make sense.
I'll even go a little farther. It took many meetings to get to just agreeing to what people on the survey had said they wanted by almost 80%. Policy, technical, all right, leave the technicals to staff, to the engineers. It doesn't make sense that you would allow a fence in a drainage area or a certain, utility easement, et cetera, that by definition shouldn't be allowed.
Well, they
and
are
wouldn't-
allowed, though, in other places.
Well, maybe they are, but
So
in terms
that's
of.
an engineering thing that the other 14 municipalities, many of them, over half, have fences and easements, they have rules, and they have fences and drainage.
Okay, even more so.
So what we have to figure out, and I think what we need to understand is when are we getting an advisory recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission?
I don't see the planning, I don't see
When are
that
we getting
commission.
that? What is it? Is it going to be, yes, we allow fences on busy streets? And no, we don't allow fences inside? And then if that's what they're deciding on, then they need to get that done, and they need to tell the board what we're doing, and then staff works on the details.
They don't write the policy. They make a recommendation, and then it's up to us to accept a policy that can be written by all of us with the recommendations of the experts and the engineers, because we're not engineers, so we don't know how high the fence should be or whatever, but we will accept that recommendation from the engineers too for the policy.
I mean,
And then
how
we
do
accept the
they
policy.
know if a fence should be on the property line? I bet Cook County would probably not want that, right? So there's probably an offset that has to occur from the property line, and then there's all sorts of other things that have to do. What are we going to do with gates? How are we going to implement gates? Are we expecting them to do that? I would think not.
And I guess that's where I'm, having been at these meetings, and Danielle as well, and Amy Jo to a degree, policy decisions, we have to decide what is the scope of the recommendation we would like from the commission. Because we can have meetings from now until 2028, every week, once a month, nothing will get decided there from a policy perspective. I believe, and that's not a slight. I've sat in on the meetings, even with an 80+% survey, it took several meetings to kind of get that done. So if we could give, and again, I don't know if Committee of the Whole is the place to give direction, but it's on the, we're talking about it. We would like to give you the appropriate direction so you can, again, guide the commission, and maybe we should decide, again, maybe just what we said, what do we want from the Planning and Zoning Commission? And what don't we want?
Well,
If I may interject.
yes.
Thank you. To your point, President Wittenberg, they are moving towards a recommendation. am strongly trying to get it done and to the board in February. I cannot confidently say it will be there, but if it is not there by March, I would be very surprised because we are finalizing this up. And to Jim's point of what you were asking of the commission, when you approved the resolution in July of what you were asking, that was the details of what you were asking the commission to do. They will provide all the information at the end of it of what the recommendation is, and it'll be very firm to to Trustee Saldana's point previously that there was some confusion on it. It'll be very firm of what the recommendation is. And, as has been discussed here before, the board will be able to either accept it, deny it, modify it, give staff additional direction at that point, and move on from it. That is what the commission has been.
Well, that's also the same commission that had a member say, can we put a moratorium on this conversation for the next 30 years or forever? And another member, and again, I've been in the meetings and I've expressed these things during public comments, that even after that commission a preliminary approved a recommendation, preliminary approved narrowing the recommendation to busy roads, busy streets. The next meeting, we were talking about, well, why are we doing this now? Something we'd already done in the prior meeting when it's 5 or 10 years down the road. So, excuse my skepticism of the ability of that commission to be productive without some narrower guidelines.
I'm hearing your frustration, Trustee Gazis, but I'll tell you that I will keep it moving until we get it here. It is not a subject that I am, to be honest, as a staff member dealing with fences the most here. It's not something I'm willing to let fall apart and die like it has done the previous 15 times. If that would have been considered acceptable, we wouldn't have gone through this 6 to 9 month process on it. So. They will get there, and even if they decide to put their hands up and say, we don't think we should deal with that, you will see a formal recommendation coming to the board with them saying that. So there will be a decision in front of you.
And when that comes to the board and you deliberate on it and you make a decision, you have a final vote, then staff will listen to everything that you've said as you were making that vote, and we will create a full-fledged fence program and bring an ordinance back, and you will have that, and it'll be very clear on what the rules are, what the guidelines are, and hopefully you feel like it makes sense at that point.
So just
Let me ask Jim. Jim, do you want to make a recommendation now, or are you willing to wait for a month or two until?
No, I'm willing to wait and
Okay.
let the process proceed.
So just to go through what the Planning and Zoning Commission was supposed to do, is to evaluate and provide a report and recommendation on whether the fence ordinances should be amended, and if so, where in the village fences should be allowed use, or if the village should adopt standards for consideration of fences as a special use. 3, what types of fences should be permitted, including materials, height, and transparency. And lastly, how such fences should be constructed and maintained. That's it. So I think that the sooner we stick to our knitting and we get those 4 things done, the better that we will be to come to the board with a recommendation. So is your write-up going to be those 4 things?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to get, your plan is to get that to the Planning and Zoning this next meeting, if you can.
So yes, the plan is we are going to finish up those few outstanding questions that they're there. We are currently have a draft report, basically that have been the findings that will be supporting everything, And at that point, I'm going to see and ask them if they have, or basically they're going to make a motion and look at providing the draft report and their draft recommendation so we get all the verbiage in. At that point, we'll then, like I said, if they're firm enough on it that they feel like they can send it to the board, I'll have them send it to the board and you'll see it that very next week. If they're not
February
firm,
13th.
yes. If they're not firm enough on it, we'll basically give them a month to review it, go over it, and then at that point, I'll ask them again to make a recommendation on it and send it to the board in March.
Okay.
For the upcoming planning and zoning meeting, do we have a tentative list of attendees that have accepted in terms of the commissioners?
Not at this moment, no.
Not yet. Is there any way that once we do have that, or once you have visibility to that, that you can send this information out to them with like at least a week in advance of the meeting and be like, here are the things that you need to review and come to the meeting prepared to discuss?
Yes.
And just leave it at that?
Yes, after that one meeting, it was very clear that I noticed that I did not give them enough guideline on it, and that was my fault. And so that they will have it on January 27th is when they're going to get all that information, so they are very well
I
prepared.
think that would be great. And then I guess the other thing to think of is if for some reason you do get feedback that like half of them won't be there, then perhaps we need to adjust our expectations.
If we would not have quorum,
Yeah.
we'll be working towards another date to make quorum.
Okay.
Can you please also send them the minutes and direct them to read them before the meeting?
Yes, that was my error on that one. So,
Any other comments before we move on to the next item that Gavin needs to? What's the next item on your list?
Just the administration area.
Okay.
And some of the projects we're working on there. Oh, thanks. We're currently reviewing proposals for communications consultants that will include taking on our social media program, our regular newsletters, our news flashes, and crisis communication when necessary. It's a full service that we're looking for. We've tried to develop a communications plan. We've tried to implement that. It's just a lot with everything else that all of your staff are doing multiple jobs and paying attention to multiple items all at the same time. So it's just not getting done fully effective. So the best thing for us to do, I think, and I'm going to bring a recommendation to the board in February for a communications consultant, and we'll include that in the budget that will be approved in May.
Gavin, does it
Yes, ma'am.
include image managing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And along the communications line, David, our video provider, has also given us the numbers for our viewership on YouTube. We're doing analysis of those and our website analytics so that we can use those to set a baseline. And once we implement this communications consultant and start working with them, we'll be able to tell the impact on that side on who is engaging with our channels. There will be an impact from having this organized approach to communications, and we'll be able to identify that in the metrics there. So we'll be presenting those to you for baseline purposes. We are working through with the Finance Committee all of the budgets for all the departments. We have been through all the departments and through an initial look at the capital budget. There are some changes that will be coming, and then we'll be bringing that back to the committee at the beginning of February, and then we'll start presenting the full budget to the board for your consideration. We'll be on time for that, to have that approved before May 1st. So we've got a few more meetings to get that done and before you, the committee. But I want to bring your attention to, and if Graham, you could put it up, the status of our grants, and that's something, it's at the back of your packet tonight. So if you flip back, There's a couple of pages that show our grant status and 2 new items on here. First, the last week or a couple weeks ago, we found out that we did receive the OSLAD grant for Sacagawea Park and Kelly's Playground. We got notification that we received the full grant. We're awaiting instructions on how to access the funds and how that whole process will work. The total budget for the project is $771,000. It's a 50-50 matching grant. We got the full 50% from IDNR, so $385,000 will come from IDNR. We'll put $385,000 in our budget. We'll be able to pay for it by not purchasing cellular technology for our meters. Thank you.
You should have started with that. I wouldn't have asked any questions.
Well, now I know. But I also want another item I want to draw your attention to. We've had in the report $175,000 that was originally allocated by the state through the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity for land acquisition to install a sidewalk along Joliet. DCO on our behalf is submitting a technical correction to the bill that originally allocated those funds, and they're going to change the grant to general infrastructure improvements, and that's going to give us a lot more flexibility in how we use those funds.
This is in addition?
In addition to
Total 675?
Yes, the 500,000, we are far along that path of getting those funds, so we're going to be getting those in the near future, and then this 175,000 will be available after July 2026, July 1st of 2026, if it gets approved by the legislature and everything. And it sounded like they were pretty confident it would get passed. So that money was kind of tied up because it was for a very, very specific purpose that we were no longer pursuing, and so some language needs to be changed and things need to be opened up so that we can access those funds that were from the state fiscal year 2021, but we weren't going to be able to use them for that purpose, is my point.
They were forgotten.
So
I want to compliment you on all of the work you did to hunt all of that down, Gavin. So thank you.
No problem.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I do want to call on Andres again to talk a little bit about our records management program. This is a big deal. Again, it's something we inherited. Joe in particular feels the pain the most of the records management process and all of the records that are all over Public Works, but there are also some here. There's some in the police department. There were some in our boardroom here. Those have been cleared out. There are some in our files in the administrative office, but this is a project that Andres has taken on and is going to get done, and it's going to make our operations more efficient, smoother, and our transparency just better. So he's going to talk briefly about this.
Briefly, all right. So as Gavin alluded, that we have files that are stored in many different locations, and there is no catalog of these files that we have, which is very difficult as a FOIA officer to be able to respond to information when I don't know what files that I have. All these files are generally, the files that we're discussing are in paper copy, so there's not even I can't even do a search like on our server or anything for them. So as time has permitted, I have been working on records disposal and going through our storage in our boxes, and with the help of Brandon, we've been getting rid of files that we can get disposed of by the state through local records management. In addition to that, I have been working on trying to figure out where everything is, essentially, because files have gotten moved around, destroyed, taken apart since the last time they were recorded in the mid-1990s. So what we are doing right now is we are going to be, first off, just finding where all the files are, what's in all our file cabinets and creating a repository and a list of that, so that as we move forward, we are more transparent, we are in better compliance with transparency laws and local records retention laws, but then also moving on from there, we can do a much better job of knowing what we need to retain, whether or not we need to digitize that, or conversely, keep them in paper copies, and then also what we can destroy.
Great. Sounds amazing.
Yes. And Eve, along the same lines, has been doing the same for the police records. That's how we were able to get that old rusty cabinet out of here, because she went through and found what we were able to destroy, and I think she's done a lot of that in the police department itself, too. The last thing under administration is the website update. Brandon, our intern, and I have met with Civic Plus to talk about how we are currently utilizing the website and all of the tools that are available through Civic Plus, other features that we could be using more effectively, and how we can better utilize those resources. So we are getting ready to kick off a complete redesign of the website, including going through all of the content, making sure it's current, it's still relevant. We'll probably take down all of the pandemic era information that is still up there, and we'll just clean up the website. And the goal is to make it more user-friendly, more informative to residents and others. So I just wanted to give you that update. That takes us through all of our departments and where we're going. And just briefly, next would be talking about the goals for 2026 and 2027. I shared that with you. It's in your packet. It's ahead of the grant information, but it lays out goals by department: police, public works, community development, and administration. We don't have to go through all of those right now, but they are up there. We'll put them, I'll make sure I share this individual file with each of you, and you can give us some feedback. Let us know your thoughts on those. There they are, and we'll that first sheet that we shared, the current year goals, I'm going to add that to our website and make sure that people know about it, and we'll do a news flash on that, just to share that it's available and people can review that.
Just one comment on,
Yes.
I don't think that I just want to make sure that so we have some transparency on the scofflaw project, because I'm
Yes.
sure that is going to be a very popular project when we start sending out letters, so.
It's not going to be popular among scofflaws.
Correct. I was being facetious, because I think I want the board to know that, so when they get complaints, they're fully aware of what's going on.
So what we're doing, we're working with the vendor who sends out notices for our vehicle sticker renewals is Third Millennium. We have acquired the list from the Secretary of State of all of the vehicles that are registered to an Indian Head Park address. We also received every vehicle that is registered to a zip code 60525 zip code. So it's a very large database. Our first step is Third Millennium, who is our vendor for vehicle stickers, is going through that. They're cleaning it up. They're narrowing it down to just those that are within Indian Head Park, so that we can identify those, and then they are going to match that up with our registry of who we've sold a vehicle sticker to. That will tell us who has not purchased a vehicle sticker for a vehicle that is registered in Indian Head Park. With that information, we will then send out letters notifying people that, it's come to our attention that you have a vehicle registered in Indian Head Park and you have not purchased a vehicle sticker. Here
Can
are
I make
your
a
options.
recommendation?
Yes, ma'am.
So that list is updated every 6 months by the Secretary of State. And there is a possibility that some of those letters will go out to people that no longer have the vehicle. You have to give them a chance to
Oh,
respond.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
no ticket, because
There
I
will
have
be,
had,
there will be due process.
Okay,
Definitely.
We're gonna
because
do a
that
first letter.
happened to me in Riverside. I got and the vehicle actually had been transferred, and duly transferred and registered in a completely different city
Okay.
Right, they're going to get,
months before.
yeah, they're going to get a first letter, and they're
Okay.
going to be told that there's an issue, they need to come resolve, either the car is there or the car is not,
Yeah.
and pay for a sticker. The letter that comes after that will be
Yeah, the fine.
The fine. So everybody is going to, there's going to be a compliance, because we get a lot of complaints that people aren't buying vehicle stickers. So I want everyone to understand that this is going to be happening, and this is the plan.
So,
So-
just so you know, I went to the hearing to fight the ticket because they were fining me double, and it was the chief of police who got on the, hey, can you check this car? And they found out that, for sure, the new, because I don't know what system you have, that you could see where the car was actually now registered. So I just want to make sure people have the chance to correct them.
Yes, they will.
They
will.
Absolutely. There'll be due
Absolutely.
process, absolutely.
Which is just another reason that we're using Third Millennium to do this, because they have the experience. They know how to handle those types of situations. They know what to look for, and how to phrase or how to carry it through with due process.
Kevin, do we have any idea of what our compliance percentage is, or we'll know those numbers?
We'll know those. We don't at this point until they've cleaned up the database, and we can look. We sold. I looked up the number. Do you know? Okay, around 3,000 stickers, and there's about 4,500 vehicles.
per house.
Yes, but the 4,000 population includes some people who are not old enough to drive, and
No, I understand.
so there's 1,700 homes, I believe.
So double that?
Yeah.
So you're around the correct number?
We're not too far off, but there are some.
We'll see, right? We'll get the data to finally make a decision if this is a good project or if we shouldn't do this again, right? We'll find out. But normally, when people do it the first year, there's a lot of compliance the second year, so.
Inspired compliance. So, like I said, review those goals, see if there's anything that was on your heart and your mind that we did not include, and I look forward to hearing from you.
So when are we going to go through these, and when are we going to have our list finalized in your
So
mind?
my plan is to bring a final list along with the budget, so that what my ultimate goal is, and it's listed as one of these priorities, is to create a budget book that ties our finances to our priorities, and it puts those out in the open with a narrative and a table like this that shows how we're putting our money where our money is, money and mouth, and
Put your money in your mouth, please.
we'll anyway, we will align our spending with our priorities. And the budget book will make that clear. It'll be very transparent how we came to those conclusions. So I want this list to go hand in hand with the budget. So we'll bring it, we can talk about it February, March. It will need to be approved at the April meeting along with the budget, so that we have a
Right,
budget in place for
So
May 1st.
looking at April, so you'll want the list of what they want for the next board meeting, right?
Yes.
So then you can start putting it in the budget for the finance committee to talk through. And the next finance committee meeting is,
February 4th. Wow,
okay.
it's impressive.
So maybe you guys can start looking at this list, and then if you have any hot topics, really, that are top of mind, get them to Gavin right away, so we can get the finance committees, if there's anything not on here.
February 4th.
Yeah, if there's anything not on here that's a real hot topic, then we can get it on here so they can talk through, what that is.
And we'll have fences taken care of before April, so you can't put that on there. And then just the last item, I just want to give you a kind of, one of the purposes of the committee whole is to talk about upcoming legislation or that's going to be brought before you for consideration. So since we have been talking about putting at least quarterly committee of the whole meetings on, I wanted to tell you what's coming up in the next quarter. A lot of this will be on February, but we will get in the habit of planning things out in more of a quarterly manner. But one thing is I've talked about several times is the FY 2027 budget, and that will, again, we'll talk about it February, March, April, and with final approval in April. We've got a couple of vehicle purchases that are coming up. One is going to be, Chief has purchased a new vehicle, and we're transitioning his older vehicle into a police cruiser, but we'll need to bring that to the board for ratification because we've already made the purchase. I got the permission of the village president and the trustee in charge of finance and administration, which is Trustee Yak, and we did make the purchase, but you will have to retroactively approve that. We have also had a vehicle in crisis in Public Works. Kyle O'Connor was doing inspections of the Indian Head Plaza. Thank you. And the vehicle wouldn't start. So we took it to the shop. It is dead. It is not worth the money that it would take to fix the timing chain and some other issues. So we're going to be bringing an emergency purchase. We'll figure out where we can draw the funds from.
Yeah,
the budget.
The cost to repair the old hand-me-down squad that we've been driving, it was $5,000, and on average, we've sold a couple of those since I've been here. We're getting like $3,500, maybe $3,800 for an old squad. So it just economically doesn't make any sense. So we're putting that vehicle on surplus, and it'll be on the February board meeting. And we're going to sell it as is with a pretty lengthy description of what it needs to be repaired. Somebody can fix it. The mechanic probably pick it up and do it on his time. That's what you're paying for is the labor. It's like 12 hours worth of labor to do this job. But some mechanic may want to grab it. So we'll see what we can get via the government bidding and see what we get for it. But it doesn't make any sense to spend $5,000 on that car to repair it.
Right. So.
Take the chief's old cruiser that you're gonna place.
Oh, that's spoken for. The Triangle District market analysis, Andres went over that, but we're looking at the proposal. We'll review that with the Economic Development Committee. We'll bring a recommendation to the board in the coming months. I mentioned the communications consultant. That will need approval from the board. We also have Golden Century, the new restaurant that is in the Willow Hill space, will be coming for a liquor license at some point in the next couple of months. We have been talking with the Finance Committee about finance policies, a budget policy, an investments policy, and a purchasing policy, and we'll finalize those and bring those to the board again. And those will be something else that's going to be included in the budget book is these financial policies. And so that will go kind of in sync with the other things, the goals and the budget itself. And then finally, we've got, Joe mentioned that we're doing the bid opening for the chlorine project on January 27th. So we'll be ready to bring that to the board meeting in February too. Any questions?
Gavin,
Oh, and
Going to
fences, by the way.
No, fences.
That fence recommendation is going to be coming at some point.
Just taking a step back, it seems as though since your time here, when I was on the other side of the fence, when I was a civilian,
Oh, my God.
see that? Work it in whenever we can. On the property line, but on the other side, on the busy road getting run, no. Grants, right? Prior administration, Amy, Joe, and Charlie, pushing for grants, the money's out there, let's go after it the right way. It seems to me, since you've been here, seeing what it was and what it has been the last 2 to 3 years, that not only have we located sources of grants and money that was already granted and where it should be going, but it seems like we're doing a better job of that. Could you briefly, describe why we are having more success, and what have you implemented? What have we as a board, you specifically as administrator, implemented on the grant front to bring this success that we longed for decades?
Well, I would say the previous administration was successful in getting grants. It was keeping track of them and spending them that seemed to be more of a challenge. And there's probably a lot of factors involved in that, but I think the one thing that we've done differently, and this was at the behest of the Finance Committee and the village president, is reporting to you on a regular basis where the grants are at, what's happened, what grants have we received, what grants have actually been paid, and just working with the people that are there at the state, at the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, at Cook County, and just really getting their help and the assistance that they're willing to offer to make sure that we're applying for it the correct way, that we're filling out all the forms correctly, and it just, those relationships that we've built with those people, I think, is a big part of it too.
So a lot of this is going on just being more organized, more process-oriented from staff. It's not as though we've brought in
We brought in
ways-
consultants.
A lot of
We have
this,
brought in the
Yes.
consultant.
yeah.
And that
That's
consultant, I think,
key.
And a lot of the money, like I said, had already been granted to the village before I got here. We just needed to clean up the processes. Yeah.
I think there was money laying around that hadn't been been properly transacted with the state or whatever organization to get it, so we could allocate it for funds to be used. Then the second thing is we use grant consultants, which Gavin evaluated and picked, and the chief, the one that's going right now, is a different consultant than the OSLED grant that we did. We've also been able to reach out to CMAP. The master grant list that we had a couple months ago included all of the grants that we've gotten, which included the technical assistance grant from CMAP, the road surface evaluation, and a couple other things. So we'll get that master grant list again for the entire time and have that for one of the board meetings, because we'll be talking to CMAP in 2 weeks. We're having them here, the executive director, and we're asking for money all the time until they say, no, right? So Invest in Cook grant, we talked to Strand this week, what can we do with this grant? So we're just, trying to shake the trees wherever we can to try to get either, low interest loans, grants, forgiven money, or whatever we can get.
Well, I think the Sacagawea kind of stood out. I didn't realize until tonight that it would be of that magnitude, that 385,000. I remember, I don't know how many board meetings ago it was, but approving that consultant that would help us be in position to get that grant, and then we did focus on, not necessarily Heritage Center to Sacagawea Park, but it sounds like we're getting advice from people that know
Yes.
how to help us get the money. So whatever you're doing, let's keep doing it.
Yes, sir. And speaking of the heritage site, the committee did meet on the 4th, and we met with the consultant, the same consultant that helped us with the Sacagawea Park grant. We're going through a similar process with him where he talked to the committee about what their expectations are and what they've been hearing from the community. We did the survey in the past, and he's putting together concepts for the committee then to look at, and then at some point they'll bring a recommendation to the board, and we'll do community surveys and all that connected to the heritage site. Or not, we've done the survey, but we'll do public meetings to get more feedback and input on those specific concepts, and then bring a recommendation to the board for that. And that could eventually at some point also turn into an OSLAD application. but that's down the road, and we'll look at that.
Gavin, it looked like you had this on your desk as well. Were you going to comment on when that was going to be sent out to the board?
I'm planning that to be part of the February meeting. Yes, right here.
Thank you.
If there are no other discussion items, I think we've gone through A through C. It is now time in the meeting where we can entertain public comments. Any public comments? Andres, did we get any emails today?
If the village goes forward with technology, and I listened to Andreas talk about using chat, whatever it is, yeah, that's what it is. Does the village have a policy on the use of AI? And/or should they have a policy on how staff members are allowed to use AI for village business?
We can ask our HR and technology manager over here.
The village president.
Can the clerk request the repeat of the question since it was not at a microphone?
Oh,
Oh, my God.
The question was,
Go
does the
ahead,
village
repeat
have
it.
an AI policy? Amy Eckert from wanted to know if the village has an AI policy. No, we do not have a formal AI policy, but there's a lot of things in the IT realm that we have not taken care of that we need to. So that probably, I think we probably have it on the list for next year to evaluate IT in general, but that would be IT policy, so.
yes, we'll have a IT policy. There's also, email, social media use policies, technology use policy. All of that will be part of, once we resurrect the project to finish up the personnel policy manual, that will include all of those types of policies as well.
Because we just had a C-SPAR board meeting, and we had to update theirs, and there's this like 5-page AI policy.
That's nothing. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Yeah,
Yes.
They have their own thing that they talk.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'll be good to look at theirs and see too, so thank you for bringing that up. It's a good thing to make sure we have.
National resources.
Yep.
I'll send you the resources.
Any other reports from our staff? Do you have anything more, Andres, Joe, Chief? Gavin?
No, ma'am.
Alrighty, since I'm hearing there are no other comments or feedback, I'd like to entertain a motion for adjournment, please.
Move to adjourn.
Second? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thanks.